You're listening to Bulldogs Live. Once again, here's your host, the voice of the Bulldogs, Scott Howard.
Welcome back to the show, and thank you for being here tonight. Thank you, folks, for being here. We've got a live audience tonight. Bulldogs Live, presented by Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo is an official sponsor of the Georgia Bulldogs. And before we dig in with the coach here, I want to thank everybody that is here tonight, and that includes Acura of Athens, Batteries Plus, Greenfield Natural Meats, Hoffman Financial, Hotel Indigo here in Athens, Merriweather and Tharp, Piedmont, Schumann Farms, and ViStar Credit Union. Thanks so much for all you folks for being here tonight, and hope you enjoy your time here and had a good meal. And I got some questions for the coach. Kirby Smart is here. Coach, good to see you as always.
Great to be here. Excited to be here.
Excited for game number 2. It's always I guess the anticipation ramps up when you get to this time in the week, a couple of days away from the game, and ready to go for Ball State on Saturday.
Yep, we've got some prep left to do tomorrow and Saturday morning early, but it's always a worry when you kick off at 12 because you don't know how your team's going to respond. We don't practice that early, and we don't typically play that early, so we try to prepare all week to play early. We don't simulate that because we don't have the early practices like some schools do.
Yeah, do you find that to be problematic, or you just breeze right through that? You know, we're going to practice when the game is. A lot of teams do that.
Yeah, well, you like to do that because that's kind of the rhythm you get into, which is we typically practice 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So that's, where your games usually are. But we catch some 12s, and we have to adjust to it. And I think the more you do it, the more comfortable you are with it.
What other than your guys, being ready and perked and alert and all of that, what are some concerns about that early start?
Well, you just never know. I mean, you got to have a pregame meal at 8 a.m., so they're getting up at 7 a.m. to get mentally prepared. We try to do that in our spring scrimmages and our fall scrimmages. We start around 12:30 or 1 just to simulate that and get them up and get going. But you never know. You don't know what you may get. And some of the kids have never played that early. Some of the kids that just came in from high school aren't used to playing at noon.
I think, was it last year we had Arkansas, or was that a couple of years ago, at a noon game, and you called for everybody to be there and ready to go, and it was one of the better crowds of the year. I mean, the place was packed, and it was energetic, and you guys need all of that too.
Oh yeah,
you feed off of that.
We feed off the fan base. I mean, it helps, and it's something that we've been able to lean on in our home games for a while now. That the crowd's going to impact the offense. It's going to impact our team in terms of energy and enthusiasm, and we feed off that. So it's a team effort.
One game in the books, win over UT Martin last week. How long does it normally take for you to identify what kind of team this will be, what kind of identity your team will have? How long does that normally take in a season?
It takes a while because you have to come across all the adversity. You find out things in practice. You find out things when things don't go well, how guys respond. Each game is like a chapter of a book, and you're trying to write a novel that's a bestseller, and you're just trying to keep putting good chapters in it. And that's the goal is to do that Saturday.
You've had a couple of bestsellers the last 2 years, and it would be nice to try to continue that. And what kind of adversity do you felt like you faced last week that can get you ready for what's ahead this season?
Well, I don't know that we did truly face enough adversity. We face a lot more in practices than we do sometimes in games, and I think that's a matter of how we approach it, what happens in the game, weather conditions in the game, the heat, the elements. I think all those things are factors.
And all of that is by design in your practices, right?
You hope so. I mean, you hope some adversity is created. There's going to be times you don't play perfect. That's certainly the case. We're trying to find the guys that can move on really fast to the next play, the next moment.
Georgia and Ball State have never played each other. Any initial thoughts on this matchup?
No, they got a nice program. They do a really good job. I think they had 4 losses last year that were within 1 touchdown. Really close games, couple 1-pointers, couple 6-pointers. They play really physical. They played Kentucky really well last week, and were leading there in the second quarter. And if it not for a turnover return for a touchdown and a kickoff return, the game would have been a little different.
Yeah, they can swing on. It doesn't take much to turn a game around, does it?
No, it doesn't.
And that's what happened with Ball State last week, and they lost to Kentucky. But they come to Athens looking for that first win. Georgia looks for its second win. And we are here on Bulldogs Live with Coach Kirby Smart. We will take your questions that you have sent in on hashtag AskCoachSmart. You can do that on social media. Send in the questions anytime during the week. And tonight's hashtag AskCoachSmart is brought to you by Greenpoint Ag. Greenpoint Ag, farmer-owned and locally focused. Bulldogs Live presented by Wells Fargo, an official sponsor of the Georgia Bulldogs. We'll get to some questions for the coach and bring you back in on Bulldogs Live right after this timeout on the Georgia Bulldogs Sports Network.
The voice of the Bulldogs, Scott Howard.
This is Bulldogs Live, and we welcome you back into the show. We've got a live audience tonight here with Coach Kirby Smart. We take your questions each and every week. You can get your questions to the coach here on the show on social media. Hashtag AskCoachSmart is the best way to do that, and you can do that on your favorite social platform, and we'll get them to the coach. And our hashtag AskCoachSmart is brought to you by Greenpoint Ag. Greenpoint Ag, farmer-owned and locally focused. And dog fans, be sure to check out the G-Shop at GeorgiaDogs.com for exclusive releases of Nike Game Day official apparel. Just like the coaches wear, visit GeorgiaDogs.com and the G-Shop today. Georgia and Ball State are coming up this weekend. Game number 2 on the schedule. It's at 12 o'clock. Official time is 12:03, is what I'm told, for the kickoff. And our coverage starts here on the Bulldogs Sports Network at 8 a.m. Saturday morning. So we invite you to join us for a day-long coverage of Georgia football as the Dogs try to go to 2-0. And we'll take some questions. Let's take some questions from our audience tonight. We've got Aaron Middleton. Hi, Aaron. Welcome to the show. What's your question for Coach Smart?
Hi, thank you. Coach, I'm curious what your go-to cheat food is.
Cheat food? I like all food.
Me too.
Well, you have to cheat and eat food. You have to be on some kind of specific diet, right? Like I'm usually on the see it and eat it diet. I'm not picky when it comes to that, but mine would probably be pizza. I think because so many times my kids have that at the house, and it looks so good. Yeah, I can't turn it down.
I hear you.
Thank you,
Aaron. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Let's grab a question from hashtag AskCoachSmart. This is from Bo in Thompson, Georgia. And Bo sends this one in. What are some positives Carson Beck can build off from last week's game?
Well, I would start with no turnovers. I don't think we had any sacks, so I think he can build off those two things. Decision making. I think one of the number one qualities of a quarterback is preventing really, really bad plays, and he avoided any really, really bad plays, and we want to continue to encourage that. A lot of that had to do with his offensive line. A lot of that had to do with his, wideouts getting open. It wasn't all him, but when things weren't good, he didn't make mistakes, and I think that's a great quality to have as a quarterback, and he can certainly build on that.
And it's really nice to have a guy with that kind of experience in the program there to operate your offense, I would imagine.
Yeah, that's a great luxury to have. I mean, when you talk about what he's been able to do and what he's learned and how well he knows the system and he understands it, I feel really confident in his abilities.
Roy in Dahlonega, Georgia, what did you think of the running back rotation workload?
Well, it was kind of one of those. We didn't have a lot of choices. We got some guys injured there, and Kendall wasn't 100%. Dejan wasn't available, and the two young guys came in and played well. They had an opportunity to play and get the rust off and get the butterflies out. I think anytime you're carrying the ball for the first time as a collegiate athlete, it's it's an experience. Sometimes you don't actually get comfortable until you do it several more times, and we got to get our guys through that, and we got to get our other guys healthy. And thank goodness we've got Cash and some other guys to help us there at that position. Yeah,
Cash was versatile. He ran the ball. He caught, 4 passes out of the backfield. And one of your freshmen, Roderick Robinson, he's a pretty thick runner, isn't he? He's a big dude.
He's a big dude, 240. I mean, that's a big back. We'd like for him to run with a little more power. He's not a guy that is super powerful, although he is 240. He has really good speed for that size, and want him to run with a little better pad level and get more yards after contact.
What were some of the things that attracted you to him when you were recruiting him?
Well, he's very intelligent. He's conscientious. He's originally his family is from this footprint. So he's got relatives in Colquitt County. He's got family from Birmingham. He's got family in South Carolina. So it's one of those deals that he really is from this part of the country, although he grew up out west.
It's kind of odd that you have two guys in your backfield that are both from the state of California.
Yeah, that is different.
Is that a hotbed for running backs all of a sudden?
Well, I wouldn't say that as much as it is just good football, and they have good high school football out there.
Let's grab a question from Jack in Dothan, Alabama. He says simply, any history with the Ball State Cardinals?
Not much history. A couple of their coaches on their staff I've come across or known or studied, but we haven't played them specifically or any of the coaching staff.
And this game was, originally on the schedule, this was supposed to be the Oklahoma week when the schedules were made, years ago. But with Oklahoma coming into the conference now, next year, this game was scheduled, was canceled by the conference. And you guys had to go scrambling, I guess, to try to find another opponent. And at that point, it wasn't real easy, was it?
No, it was not. There was not a lot of options left. And it's always that case because they book them so far out. So if you get put in a situation where you have to find one, they're hard to find.
Well, we found Ball State, and that's who will be at Sanford Stadium on Saturday. And we're glad they're coming, and we're glad the Dogs are playing on Saturday at noon. This is Bulldogs Live with Coach Kirby Smart. Thank you for being here tonight. We'll get some more questions for the coach and step aside for these words right here on the Georgia Bulldogs Sports Network.
You're listening to Bulldogs Live. Once again, here's your host, the voice of the Bulldogs, Scott Howard.
Thanks for being here tonight, Bulldogs Live with Coach Kirby Smart. We're taking your questions from social media, and we're taking some questions from our live audience here tonight in Athens as well. Don't forget, we've got 2 hours of Bulldogs Live tonight. At the top of the hour, we turn it over to Neil Williamson and the crew for the Bulldogs All-Stars. They'll talk Georgia football for another hour for you and take your calls and questions. A couple of former Georgia players doing the honors tonight to talk Georgia sports until 9 o'clock this evening. Georgia and Ball State are coming up this weekend in Athens. Game 2 of 4 straight to start the season for the Bulldogs. And Georgia and Ball State meeting for the first time in school history. Dogs come in at 1-0. And Ball State at 0-1 after their loss to Kentucky last week. Let's grab a question from our audience tonight. This is Tammy. Hi, Tammy. Thanks for being here tonight. And go ahead and fire your question at the coach.
Hi, Coach.
Hey, Tammy.
I got a question for you. What do you and your family just enjoy doing for fun?
Well, Pickle was so busy. First of all, I don't get to see them very often. In the off season, I get to spend more time with them. So we like pickleball. We got everybody in the family to play that a little bit. It doesn't always end in a nice family festival or family friendship. Sometimes there's rackets thrown and balls thrown and tempers flare, but we call that family fun. And then there's spades. We play spades and we enjoy that. We go out on boats and do the boating thing, but we just downtime is probably my favorite enjoyment is being able to be at the house and not have something going on, which is very rare.
Tammy, thanks for your question. Appreciate it. Who's the most competitive in your house, Kirby?
Probably me or the littlest one. It's tight. The others have relented and just said it's not worth it. They choose to not have to deal with it.
Hashtag Ask Coach Smart. You can send your questions in anytime. And let's see, Ryan in Jacksonville, Florida, wants to know how well the defense is communicating and gelling so far this year as you go into Game 2.
Well, I'm pleased with what I've seen so far in terms of the intensity and the way they practice and the way they respond to things that don't go their way. I don't know that I can say how they've gelled completely, because they haven't. You don't really gel until things get tough. Things they struggle, and they didn't have that struggle last week. They've had some struggles in camp, and they've had struggles against our offense, but they didn't have those struggles last week. So I think we'll continue down this road, and we try to create adverse situations in practice and see how they respond.
Tommy in Roswell, Georgia, wants to know what's the biggest takeaway from your win last Saturday.
Well, that we can have a really explosive team. We can hopefully play to a standard and not worry about who we're playing. I just don't think it matters. It does not matter if it's Ball State, whoever it is. You got to play to a standard, and that's something that we continue to preach, because if you can do that consistently, then you're going to be at your best each week, and you're not going to let the person you're playing dictate how you play. So that's something that we want to do, and I can't say that we proved that completely last week. We got to do that every week.
What was some of the feedback that you got from? Because you played a lot of guys last week. What was some of the feedback from some of the really young guys that got their first taste of Sanford Stadium?
It's a long way to go. I mean, they've got a long way to go. You can't just go out there and say, I'm going to magically play well. I mean, I didn't expect them to, because I watch them practice each day. And the guys you watch practice that practice well, they play well. And the guys that you watch practice and they don't play well, guess what? They don't play well. So it's no shock to me that we go out there and make mistakes with those guys. But that's part of the process, right? You got to go through that. You got to go through those mistakes, and we talk about not being outcome oriented. So many of our kids they just worry about the outcome, and like Kyron Jones is a great example. He gets that pick 6, and the next thing you know, he's going to be on Sports Center and he feels great about it. But the outcome doesn't show what he's done up to this point and how much he needs to improve to where he needs to be.
That was kind of a neat moment for him, though. Right place at the right time, and then you got to put the pads on the bench after that.
Oh, it was awesome. It was a great experience to go out there your first game and score a touchdown on defense.
Turner in Columbus, Georgia. Have you gotten to pet the new Ugga yet?
I have not. I haven't even met Boom yet. So probably need to make that happen some kind of way. I have not got to pet Ugga, though.
Anybody in here got to pet Ugga yet? The new one? No?
Good. I got good company.
Everybody's in the same boat. Let's see. Philip in Atlanta. Do you have any pregame traditions or superstitions?
I don't really. I mean, I feel like I do the same thing every home game and every road game, but they're not superstitions. They're just
what you do.
Just what you do. I mean, it's like you dog walk. Okay, and then you go to the locker room. Then you change into your coaching gear. Then you meet with recruits. But nothing that I feel like I have to do in order for us to have success, because all that work's done during the week.
Nothing that you wear every week. You don't wear the same visor every week or the same shirt, or
I couldn't keep up with the same stuff.
Pair of shoes.
No chance I would have. If I started doing that, I would be so mad at myself because I couldn't keep up with. I mean, I wear what they give me. What do they give me? I'll wear it.
Not too bad. Words to live by right there.
Yep.
Let's grab a timeout here, and we'll get some more questions for Coach Smart when we continue. And Georgia fans, if you want to do an NIL deal with a dog, then you can go to georgiadogs.com/NIL to connect with a student athlete on a sponsorship, a commercial appearance, an autograph session, and more. Timeout here on the Bulldogs Sports Network. Back in a moment.
Bulldogs Live. Once again, here's your host, the voice of the Bulldogs, Scott Howard.
Back here with Coach Kirby Smart. This is Bulldogs Live each and every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Coming your way with the coach for an hour, and then the Bulldogs All-Stars take over at 8 o'clock, and they'll take you up until 9 this evening. We take your questions each week on from social media on your favorite platform, hashtag AskCoachSmart, and that's brought to you by Greenpoint Ag, farmer-owned and locally focused. And Bulldogs Live is presented by Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo is an official sponsor of the Georgia Bulldogs. It's time right now to look ahead, and that's brought to you by the Governor's Office of Highway Safety. The penalty for getting a DUI can cost up to $10,000. That's why the Governor's Office of Highway Safety says drive sober so you won't get pulled over. So let's look ahead with the coach here as we take a look at Ball State this weekend. It's a noon kickoff for the Dogs and the Cardinals as they play for the first time. And just, Coach, any initial thoughts on the weekend game with Ball State as we look ahead to that second game of the season?
Well, I'm looking forward to see our guys respond, and everybody says it, and it's pretty trite, but your greatest jumps come from game 1 to game 2, and if that's the case, then we need to show some improvement. I think that we had a good camp. It was a really hot camp. We got a game under our belt. We should get some confidence. We need to go play well. We need to play together. We need to play complementary football. We need special teams, something big to happen. We got to continue to develop our roster in depth, and we've actually still got to get a lot of players back who have been bumps and bruises, and trying to get healthy is the hardest thing while you're still developing players.
Did you feel good about your kickers? You mentioned special teams, but Jared Zirkle kicked off, and Brett Thorson handled the punting chores, and then your freshman, Peyton Woodring, had a couple of field goals. Yeah, Peyton did a nice job to come in as a true freshman and do that, and not, have any butterflies. He did a nice job, and I thought Zirk hit great kickoffs. He did, yeah. So those guys did a great job. And then he's been really consistent in practice and hit some bombs. But I told him he got outdone by that punter from the other team. Man, he was killing the ball. That UT Martin punter was pretty impressive. Yeah. Yes, it was a pretty good battle there. But both guys held their own. Let's grab a question from our audience here. This is Emma. Hi, Emma. Welcome to the show. What's your question for Coach?
I was just wondering, what is your favorite hype song?
Well, it depends on what kind of mood I'm in. I have a lot of genres, so I could listen to Zach Bryan, I could listen to Luke Bryan, I could listen to Tupac, I could listen to U2. I go all the way across the board because it just depends on what kind of mood I'm in. But I don't always get a choice because the hype song goes back to the players and they choose what they want, and I don't always know what that is anymore.
Emma, thanks very much. Thank you for being here tonight. Another question from #AskCoachSmart. Cindy in Perry, Georgia. How competitive is it in practice when the number one offense goes against the number one defense?
Well, it better be competitive, because if it's not, it means we're not very good, or one side of the ball is not very good. But they compete, they get after it, they respect each other. We don't get to go against each other as much as I'd like to, because you have to be careful because it taxes them more when the level of competition goes up. So we probably do 56% of our practice as good on good, and then another 40% as what I call scout work. So I love it when they go against each other because they compete hard. We just have to be careful.
In your 8 years here, have your practices changed a lot from year one to now as far as contact and trying to be aware of everything else?
We just shortened them. I mean, I would say we've had contact at all of them. We'll always have contact. Football's a contact game. We try to find a safer way to do it. We're constantly looking for a better way, and if something's producing a lot of injuries, we're going to avoid doing it. We're going to try to educate ourselves. But the length of the practice has shrunk since I've been here, but not the physicality.
Do you find you can still get that work in, though, in a short amount of time?
You can get as much work as you want to get in a short amount of time. It's just the intensity with which you want to go and how many people you want working simultaneously.
George in Duluth, Georgia, wants to know how good it was to be back in Sanford Stadium, especially under the lights. He liked the night game.
Yeah, I think the under the lights part was the biggest difference. It's like you never take for granted running out in that stadium and it's being packed, and I came out and we run through that banner and it's like, oh man, every seat's full, this is incredible, great atmosphere. And then when the lights come on later in the game and it's dark and then they're doing the lights and the atmosphere is just incredible. So we'd almost forgotten what that was like. Not the running out, but the fourth quarter, third quarter darkness and the lighting and the light show. That's really cool. And I know our players, it provided them some energy.
Yeah, it's probably a nice little boost going into the fourth quarter there. If you happen to be dragging, that certainly will lift you up going into that final 15.
That's right. I think it's good.
And, just so everybody knows, I mean, you guys don't determine the game times.
We don't pick it.
TV does all of that. So if you want to be upset that there's not more night games at somebody, that's who you can direct your emotions to. Let's see, Jacob in Blackshear, Georgia. What kind of camp did Mekhi Muse have? And he says, my man is quick.
Yeah, he's quick. He has had a really, really good camp. He was healthy for the first time. In the last couple of years, he's dealt with some injuries. He's tough. He's smart. He works really hard. He believes in himself. He's a competitor. And when you pick up our system and you understand what it is Coach Bobo and Coach BMAC are asking you to do offensively, you can be a good player and make plays in it. And he's done that. He listens. He takes notes. He's passionate. And like I say to guys all the time, if everybody could be as hungry as him, we wouldn't have to worry about much because, we'd be real hungry all the time. And we need more guys to be as hungry as he is.
What aspect of his game do you like the most right now? What is he best at, most comfortable at?
He's got really good quickness. He can make one guy miss. He's not an elite speed guy. He's not going to run away from a whole team. But he's quicker than he is fast, so he has an ability to make the first guy miss and get positive yardage.
Is that what makes him pretty good at being a punt return specialist?
Yeah, that and the screens and the kickoff returns and things like that.
Yeah, he had that touchdown last week, his first, so that was another nice moment for another Georgia player, Mekhi Muse. Thanks for your question, Jacob. We appreciate it. And we'll step aside for just a moment. This is Bulldogs Live with Coach Kirby Smart. Back for more of your questions right after this on the Georgia Bulldogs Sports Network.
Bulldogs Live. Once again, here's your host, the voice of the Bulldogs, Scott Howard.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us on Bulldogs Live with Coach Kirby Smart. Tonight's show presented by Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo is an official sponsor of the Georgia Bulldogs. And be sure to follow Georgia Bulldogs All Access on social media by searching at UGA_GBSM. Georgia Bulldogs Sports Marketing provides your inside connection to UGA athletics with exclusive updates and behind-the-scenes content, including the Kirby Smart All Access TV show. You can follow at UGA_GBSM. All right, questions for the coach from social media. Hashtag AskCoachSmart is how you get them to us on your favorite social platform. That's brought to you by Greenpoint Ag. A Greenpoint Ag, farmer-owned and locally focused. Scotty in East Cobb, Georgia. Coach wants to know, is there anyone that stood out to the coaching staff last week that maybe the fans aren't aware of?
Well, I thought C.J. Smith played well. He had a couple busted assignments, but he had two big pass plays over the middle. He had a big conversion of third down that he ran through somebody and showed some toughness, and was really proud of him for overcoming the injuries and doing a good job out there of jumping out and going. I thought Ernest Green, he had some plays I wish he wishes and I wish he had back, but that was his first start in 2 years since high school, and to get out there and do it on a big stage, I was proud of him. I mean, there's a lot of guys that I always look at, the younger players that maybe would have butterflies and went out and overcame those.
And he was Ernest was kind of battling some bumps and bruises during camp, right?
Yeah, he had an ankle sprain there that he's kind of overcome and done a good job.
What does the rest of your offensive line look like? Because you had a pretty good competition there at that left tackle spot, and that continues over the course of the season, I would imagine.
Yeah, it does. They've looked good. They've done a good job. I just, we got to stay healthy because we don't have the same, like last year, most of these guys were playing or backups. And then we had also the guys that are no longer with us. So we just don't have the depth that we had in the past there.
How do you avoid those injuries? I mean,
you pray.
Yeah, that's probably the best way.
Yeah.
Let's grab a question from Kat in Sandy Springs. What's the number one thing you want to see this week against Ball State?
I want to start fast. I always talk about a noon game is sometimes you can jump on a team or vice versa if you're not ready. You got to be on the attack, and you got to be aggressive. And we need to start fast, and that's what my expectation is for the team for this game.
If you win the coin toss, would you take the ball to try to do that?
It would depend on the weather. It would probably depend on how much dry time is left.
Is that how you determined whether or not you want to take the ball or not?
Not necessarily, but weather plays a factor for sure because you can't get the weather to be your favor or the wind to be in your favor in the fourth quarter unless you're willing to take the ball. So there's some strategy involved in that.
I haven't seen the long-range forecast. Is it supposed to be hot on Saturday as well?
Well, it was going to be, but the temperature's been dropping, and there's a higher chance of rain. But they don't scare anybody away. They better be there.
There you go. There's the call-out right there. 12 o'clock on Saturday for Georgia and Ball State. We'll step aside one more time here and get one more segment with the coach before we turn it over to the Bulldogs All-Stars at 8 o'clock. Thanks for being here tonight. We'll take a break and come back for more Bulldogs Live with Coach Kirby Smart right after this on the Bulldogs Sports Network. Bulldogs Live presented by Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo is an official sponsor of the Georgia Bulldogs. And thanks to our friends and our audience tonight for being here from ViStar Credit Union, from Schumann Farms, from Piedmont, from Merriweather and Tharp, from Hotel Indigo in Athens, from Hoffman Financial, from Greenfield Natural Meats, from Batteries Plus, and from Acura of Athens. Thanks again to all you folks for being here tonight. As we grab a few more questions for the coach before we get out of here in this first hour, hashtag Ask Coach Smart is how you get them to us. And Courtney in Athens wants to know, Coach, how has the intensity been at practice this week?
It's been good. I thought that the practices this week were a step up from last week, and we had really good practice Monday, Tuesday, pretty good one Wednesday, and then a good one inside today. So I've been pleased with the preparation. It doesn't always equate to how we play. I've learned that over 8 years. It doesn't always equal out, but I have been pleased with the prep.
What are some of the things you look for in a practice, whether or not you determine it's good and it's effective?
The focus, the intensity, the approach, the silliness, the maturity, and really the speeds. And those are things we can measure by the GPS and all.
Larry in Bogart, Georgia, what are your thoughts about the back-to-back home games and 4 in a row to start the season?
Better than 4 in a row. and I think anytime you can start and play and get your fan base going, I think it's important. I do think it can have an effect on you if you don't go on the road, and you have to go on the road and you're not used to it, but you have to create that environment, and eventually you got to be first on the road at some point, and that's one of the things that you always look at.
The Dogs don't have a road game until the end of the month, so we'll be concerned about that the week of that first road game. Hampton in Social Circle, Georgia. How much, you talked a little bit about this earlier in the show, how much does a noon kickoff affect your preparation?
I don't think it changes a lot of your preparation. We cut a little bit Thursday because of the turnarounds quicker. You got 6 hour difference between a 6 p.m. game and a noon kickoff game, so we would do a little less on a Thursday of a noon kick, probably go outside less, sometimes take the pads off, although we did not do that this time, but the prep is similar outside of that.
What do you guys do on a Friday before the game?
That's always the same, regardless of the kick time. We'll go through today's practice. We'll go through some walkthroughs. We'll do some call-outs. We do situational things that might come up throughout the year, and then we have meetings at night and get ready to go play.
Ball State on Saturday. What are your initial thoughts on the Cardinals coming to town?
Well, I'm excited for our team to go play and get another opportunity. This is a team from a conference that usually is extremely competitive. They go off and knock off a Power 5 team almost every year out of their conference, and they've won that conference. So they've slayed giants through this conference many times, and this team's won that conference.
Yeah, a couple of years. Well, during the COVID shortened season, they won their league, went to a bowl game. Which hadn't happened a lot in that program, and the last 2 years have been right around 500, I guess, overall record. But this is a team that has some very good players. They've got some experience, and they've got like 3 guys at quarterback that you have to prepare for.
They got a really good situation at quarterback. I mean, they've got experience, they've got a talented youth, and then they've got a really good athlete.
One of the guys, and I was asking you about this a little bit earlier, but Hatcher, the quarterback, is. I'm not sure what year of college he's in.
Yeah,
this is his fourth school. I mean, how common is that nowadays in today's college football?
It's more common than it used to be. They're finding creative ways to move around and go to multiple places. And he was at Alabama, Arkansas State. He's been several places, and he played well last week. The young kid probably outplayed him, though.
Yeah, the youngster that played in the second half, the freshman who certainly you're aware of. And then they've got another guy that's kind of a dual threat guy that they can insert in there.
Yeah, the Kelly kid. He's extremely athletic, and we saw him in high school. He actually can be a receiver for him, so he does both.
Kirby, thanks for answering all the questions tonight. We appreciate your time. Good luck this weekend against Ball State.
Thank you, and go Dogs.
All right, go get the Cardinals. That's Coach Kirby Smart here on Bulldogs Live.